Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests bring you leading-edge astrology conversations through a journey of soul growth patterns connecting astrology's energetic cycles. Get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello again. This is Talk Cosmos, and I'm Sue Rose Minahan, your founding host and astrologer. And today is October 9, and we're going to use several transits. It's a powerful time. The one we're heralding is towards the end of the month in a couple of weeks, but we're feeling it. It's the eclipse. It happens 4 times a year. There's 2 with the solar, where the moon blocks the sun's view, and that's the first one that we're dealing with. And then there'll be a lunar one 2 weeks later. This one will be in Scorpio. It's at 2 degrees in Scorpio. It'll be October 25th. It's a time because it does also connect with, well, we'll discuss what it is later, but we're going to include a couple of other transits because, again, Venus is making one of its 5 Venus star points. It's a 100-year cycle, and it replaces one that it had been using, and it rotates backwards. So instead of Scorpio, it'll be in Libra, and that begins on the 22nd. Then after the eclipse, Mars in Gemini, which will be in Gemini for 7 months. Usually it's only about 2-3 months. It's 2 months or even shorter. But when it goes retrograde, it stays in that illustrious sign of communication, of many things. So we may touch on that too. But today has to do about a natal transit reading. Also, after a half hour, we'll bring on our guest and we'll talk to her about how we looked at her chart and get her feedback. We thank everybody for your support and your interest. And if you want, well, there'll be an invitation, but always if you want to be included, just go to Talk Cosmos. There's a form. It's really easy now. I am ready for Kaleidoscope Visions.
Learning about current transits and exploring soul growth cosmic conscious energies applied to natal transit chart readings provided from the audience. This is your Kaleidoscope Visions panel.
I'm Sue Rose Minahan, the founder of Talk Cosmos, an eclectic evolutionary astrologer, consultant, certified color energy life coach, vice president of the Washington State Astrological Association, member of Kepler Astrology Toastmaster Club, of a Dwarf Planet University diploma and AA with music degree. I love mythology, philosophizing, collaboration. I'm an artist, writer, a perpetual student of life.
I'm Amanda Pierce, a soul-centered astrologer, astrological consultant, and empowerment-based meditation teacher. I have a BA in psychology, I'm a wellness enthusiast with a passion for healthy eating, and I enjoy creating new realities and shifting old paradigms.
And like the Sufi poet Rumi says, you are the entire ocean in a drop.
Yes. Hello, Amanda.
Hello. Happy to be here with you, Sue.
Yes, I am too, always. I had not mentioned, but the title, kind of the encapsulating title, is A Deep Metamorphosis. You know, this chart, today's chart even, maybe we should just start looking at today's chart if we can bring on the charts there. And actually, here I'm going to flip around a little bit, but today's chart, we will see that we have Saturn, this that is in a tension and has been all last year and this year, and it's within 12 days of the same degree, fixed degree of old and new. So, and it's going between our past and our present. So I'm throwing together a bunch of ideas here right off the bat, but it's what we call squaring the nodes. And it's
right. Yeah. So we've been, there's been a lot of talk this year about Uranus conjunct the North Node. But Saturn at the same time has been squaring the nodes. And so this is a journey for all of us collectively to move forward into more of our authority, into what is right for us, kind of moving beyond the socially acceptable norms of things, and really stepping into what is absolutely correct for us.
I love that phrase that you said, our own authority, because I think of it as our own accountability, which involves it, and our own authenticity. A lot of the A words, it's amazing how certain times a word connotes with the same letter. I mean, in this sense, authority, very important for Saturn. And on new grounds, I mean, with the North Node, and I'm keeping this particular event out because that's today, and yet it's the whole climate that starts this experience. And I will, by bringing up, about authority and authenticity, let's go back for a moment, because these are the events that we're discussing. The first 12 days, which we're beginning, these two titans, they are titans in mythology, are square at a fixed degree, 18 degrees, so anywhere 5 degrees within that, anybody's chart, Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio. I'm missing. Who am I missing? Nobody, I hope.
No, I think you got them all. Yeah.
Yeah. And yesterday, Pluto, our transformer, decided, okay, we're going to try to reboot and change, transform what directly instead of looking at the past. We'll go forward. And so we'll also bring up the trine. I mean, I think this has significance because on the 18th, just to mention that Venus, because Venus is going to have a new Venus star point on the 22nd, which is a 100-year cycle, replacing Scorpio. It's a whole feature of itself, but just to make that note that as a backdrop, it'll be one of the 5 points that we're recognizing how our heart's desire is connected with our sun. But on the 18th, Venus and Mars are going to trine, meaning it seems to me that their energies are trying to check with each other, saying, well, where are you at? Where are each one? It seems.
Yeah, I really like it because it's a harmonizing between the ruler of the North Node and the traditional ruler of the South Node. And so this is like kind of showing us all how these two energies can work together and move us more towards the Venus North Node.
Oh, Amanda, I thank you because yes, Mars, just to bring up to folks, is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. And Pluto, of course, since 1930 has been designated the modern ruler, which has great appropriateness. And the South Node in Scorpio, of course, and that's where this lunar eclipse lives at 2 degrees, is all about releasing. So we will be bringing up the Venus star point and then, okay, these are the dates. And for the people that are not on YouTube, so it'll be October 22nd, Saturn turns direct the same day that this Venus star point at 29 degrees Libra begins. And at that same time, I want to add that the dwarf planet Haumea of rebirth, the Hawaiian goddess, is also at 29 degrees. And the power of that has a strange little figure that will show up on some of the slides, is that this rebirth energy, it's a long cycle of 500 and some years of Haumea. And on November 12th, she goes into Scorpio. So it will be, it has some significance. All right. Go ahead if you had a comment. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Sue, if you could just go back to that slide.
Okay.
I just wanted to note, this is the kind of the evolution of Venus that we've got going here. So October 18th, we're getting like a little snippet of how this Venus Mars can work together. And this is important because we're moving into some pretty intense energies with the eclipse. And so we want to remember what this feels like. And even if we don't consciously remember, our subconscious energetic fields understand it. And then we've got October 22nd, like you mentioned, the Venus star point change. also on that day, Venus is cazimi with the sun. And this is a big moment for Venus. In ancient times, it was said that a planet that is cazimi to the sun is a man who's raised up to sit beside the king. So it's like Venus is being given the power of the throne, and there's like a rebirth happening. There can be some burning off of karmic debt here. And just to note that cazimi means that a planet is within 17 minutes. So we've got 60 minutes within each degree. So 17 minutes within a conjunction of the sun. Now, some people do say that cazimi can go up to anything it's within 1 degree. And if that's the case, then Venus will be cazimi the sun during the eclipse. But we'll look at that later.
Good point. And I agree. This is so strong that our desires and what we love is tracking these different experiences. And because here, by entering in the solar eclipse, when Venus conjuncts this solar eclipse, she's really going underground, underworld, into the underworld with Pluto and with Scorpio as the ancient Inanna of Mesopotamia that Venus has its heritage with as far as the mythology. And in our world, we've kind of classified her in other more simplified terms, but this isn't the truth. You look at love, it has great passion. It has a warrior sense of wanting to declare and defend in a sense of what it wants to attract and what it loves. So at any rate, it's powerful.
I love that, Sue. And it's kind of like Venus in Scorpio. She's in Mars's sign. So she is the goddess warrior.
Yeah. Okay. So we will go on. Here we have the Venus star point, and this is on October 22nd, and in Eastern time, we're in the United States, and so we're using the Washington time for the East Coast, is that in the evening at 5:17, that's 5 o'clock, 17 minutes, and 15 seconds to be exact. And so in this particular chart, it's in the 7th house, this Venus star point. And as you can see, it has both, and it is cazimi, as you say, it's within 2 minutes. Haumea, this great goddess, the dwarf planet of way out past Pluto in that Kuiper belt of rebirth and, of Hawaii. It's a whole energy to realize that she created Pele and many and all creation from her. And creation is it takes a lot of energy to create. So just thinking of that, we're in a big transition form. So, and I'm not sure that kind of signifies that. Should we go on to the eclipse?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Here we are, 2 degrees Scorpio solar eclipse with the sun, moon, and Venus conjunct. And to recognize it is, I would say, within that degree. So I like many people, extend that to be a cazimi, very close.
Yeah, it's about 40 minutes. The sun is conjunct Venus.
And for the Eastern time, it's at 6:49 a.m. Eastern time on October 25th. So, and it is within 15 degrees. I mean, it's just within 11 degrees of the south node. So it's all of this is shedding light. I mean, shedding shadow, going into that. What have we loved that is no longer serving the story that is giving us power with our committed attractions, with our resources? How can we, because the North Node is saying there's change. You need to be authentic. You need to be more resilient of your own resources.
Yeah, so the North Node in Taurus conjunct Uranus it's all about kind of stepping out of what is comfortable for you, but it just is not serving you anymore, so that you can more deeply kind of embody yourself and be in an embodied state in this plane. So kind of grounding into your life, really feeling things more deeply, more of a sensory experience. And, like you said, Taurus is also about, it's Venus ruled, so it's about your values too.
It is. It's aligning courageous choices, supporting our purpose. And the deepest values and security. It's big work. And yet it's not all done in a day. It seems like if one has a ritual, with Scorpio too, it's, I think, because it has the occult and it's psychological, but it's also it's spiritual. It has, if one has a meditation or some kind of a ritual of going within to find what.
Yeah, Scorpio's great at doing the research. And so you can really dive deep with Scorpio and kind of really explore what your emotional state is, what the state of your relationships are, because this is the way I'm seeing it. This is really all about relationships. Venus rules 3 signs associated with relationships: Taurus, which is about your relationship with yourself; Libra, your relationship with others; and Pisces, your relationship with Source or the greater universe. And so all of these relationships are up, and we want to kind of evaluate, like, where is there dead weight in your life, because Scorpio rules death. So what's dead and needs to be released? And what relationship dynamics can you let go of that will lead to greater empowerment for yourself? Empowerment is another Scorpio piece.
To conclude with this chart, and so we can get to the guest chart, I'm recognizing that Pluto is at our very source, at the IC, at our foundational. So it's really recognizing where in our foundation might there be change that we're needing to make. And the other thing is looking at Jupiter. I believe, if I can find Jupiter really fast, where in the heck is Jupiter? Do you see it? Oh, yes. They're in the 6th house. It's at the Aries point, because Jupiter's been doing a retrograde. It will be passing over that Aries, that beginning point for all of us, with our belief patterns, with our opinions, with our greater, higher belief patterns. I mean, I'm repeating belief in different ways.
Yeah. Well, and it's important to note that Jupiter is still retrograde. So there's going to be a desire to like really jump forward into things, but we're not quite there yet. Eclipses typically, you want to look for them to kind of proceed and evolve in the next 3 to 6 months. And I'm not sure when Jupiter goes forward back to the Aries point.
Well, we can figure that out another time. Yeah, because we do need to move along. And I thank you very much. It is where, okay.
December 20th. That's when it is forward move. Yeah, it's not that far. It's just like about 2+ months away. And so we'll still be in the thick of the eclipse and its energies, but there may be more movement possible at that point.
Because it does want to initiate. It's our initiation rekey button. And it's ruled by Mars. Mars in this retrograde that here we are is in Gemini. It's very diverse. It's going to ask for it's in one way, a lot of this is not to put so much on ourselves. Our business is to have the greater intention and do the meditation, because life will support how we feel. Venus reminds us it's about feeling. It's not just the intellectual journey. And so how we feel and understanding truly how we feel is going to bring and attract to us. And there's going to be uncertainty because Uranus is part of the picture and all of that. So here we have, and then we'll flip, we want to go immediately to this person's chart. Mars is in Gemini for 7 months from the 20th of August to the 25th of March. And the retrograde will be, just as you said, it's going to be back to Pisces October 28th, which was just, it will be just a few days prior to this retrograde until December 28th, if I have that right, I hope. Okay, so here we have this natal chart with this person, and born June 15, 1989 at 7:33 p.m. in Philadelphia. Her sun is at 24 Gemini, and it's conjunct Jupiter, which is the ruler of the ascendant at 13 degrees in the 7th house. And the moon is in Scorpio in the 11th house, conjunct Pluto, the transformer, in its own sign, the modern, ruler of the modern sign. So the other aspects are that Saturn is in the first house at a Cazimi point with Neptune, which often I've been told is the pragmatic mystic. It's someone that takes the mysticism of life and puts real form to it and sees the discipline and has possibly a real discipline involved. The other feature of this individual is that Ceres, the dwarf planet Ceres, of grief and of finding what sustains, supporting that grief through their own service to others, is in tension with her nodal axis. So there's a great deal of compassion, very likely, that this person has, and maybe healing. I wonder how her path of healing, of being a healer, of finding that area that she knows so well and applying it to a community. There's a lot of community transformative energy in her chart.
Yeah, and Ceres has a lot to do with nurturing and a lot to do with loss. And so wherever we have Ceres in our chart, it's where we feel a great loss that we're trying to recover. And anything that squares the nodes is kind of a blocker to getting the flow going from the to moving more towards the north node until we kind of get that piece figured out. So it's a big deal in this chart.
Yeah, and I think too, there's a lot to be involved with the community, whether it's on an immediate basis of teaching, or I'm thinking like the north node's in the 3rd house in this chart, and also the transformative Pluto's in the 11th of networking. But there's also possibly something about early childhood. And I realize I'm not asking her to be too personal about however she wants to reveal what is, but about the mother too. So she herself might be the mother figure for her community, a parental type figure, father, mother type, that in order to supplant that potential loss that was, however it may have been experienced.
Well, do we want to take a look at her chart with the eclipse chart?
Absolutely. Here it is. So, that's with the Venus one. Immediately here, Mars, for the Venus Libra coming up, where the values with the sun in Libra for justice, balancing and justice, and is so strong. Mars is energizing within a degree over her sun, because Mars is going to, in its retrograde, is going directly over this sun 3 times. So it's a lot of adjustment there. And then 2, her transiting Jupiter at the Aries point is directly on her Haumea of 0 degrees Aries, which perhaps she's not aware of, because not everybody looks at the dwarf planets. But Rebirth is probably her middle name in some ways. Should we go now to the, and there's a, oh, there's someone. Okay, we will. Here we are. In this eclipse, which is right directly in the 11th house, in her natal 11th house, and it is at 2 degrees. But what's most important is her moon and Pluto are conjunct the south node. So there's a tremendous amount of recalibration and deep metamorphosis. Yeah.
So an eclipse always brings very intense energies, and so these energies are going to be focused within the 11th house and the 5th house. And you can see she's got Pluto in the 11th, and Pluto in the 11th, usually there's like a past life resonance of being abandoned by the group. So group stuff is kind of big here. And I'm curious to see how that's playing out for her. As well, we've got, because the solar eclipse is at 2 degrees, it is in a very tight quincunx with her Mercury.
Oh, so there's a lot of communication, thinking, and deep research into her own soul.
Yeah, and it's Mercury is also square the nodes. Now it's out of sign because Mercury is at 2 degrees Gemini, and her nodes are 28 Aquarius and Leo, but it's still there. It's still within the realm. It's just going to be a little bit of a different flavor. But there's a piece here about communication and maybe stepping into her voice in a deeper way. So I'm curious to see how this has been playing out. She's got a Gemini Sun conjunct Jupiter, and Jupiter rules her ascendant. So, there's a lot of really good Jupiter or really good Gemini energy here.
Well, Jupiter, I might say, Sagittarius needs to have a voice. It needs to express a voice. Finding that context could be really the gift of this eclipse, that's honing down, saying, let's find out where the blocks are, that because they're emotional. Scorpio is very emotional, and I have my Pluto in the 11th also. And I'm just thinking the mere fact that she happened to find this opportunity to come onto this show, which is a sense of networking, is online, it's all these aspects, is a start. And also that, let's see, the fact that Jupiter, and it doesn't show here, but is again exactly at 0 degrees, which is on that Haumea, her natal Haumea, there on the 3rd house. So the Mercury that you were talking about is a natal Mercury for folks. It's in the 6th house at 2 degrees, which is very powerful. So, and a quincunx I was just reading, Maurice Fernandez made a note, who's one of the great astrology sages that teaches a great deal. And I personally had the pleasure of having his class, which is a 2-year program. And he was just saying that he loves quincunxes, that they bring out relationships that he had never even considered. If I
that's interesting.
Grab that, which is fascinating, because I have a yod. If you have it can create that finger of God. Well, we have a moment here. We're really at the half hour. Should we go directly? I'll go to the next one before we take break for a moment. This is the Mars retrograde, which is only a few days later. It happens on October 30th, just after the 25th, when that Mars will go retrograde. And as you can see, Mars mostly is really all throughout this whole month, because it slows down when it goes apparent retrograde. From our view from Earth, is really hovering next to her sun. So this has been a long, engaging, it's like, can I just go? How much input can I take? How to, not even to sift out. It's not asking really to be too discerning, although her natal Mercury in the 6th house wants to, but it's accruing input. It's finding, putting it all very strong.
Yeah, and Mars is, so this chart is a day chart, meaning that the sun is above the horizon at birth. And so that, in the traditional view, means that Mars is her malefic. So that means that a Mars transit is more challenging than it is for a night chart. So I'm curious to see, has this been challenging? Has stuff been coming up for her? Or is it could also be very empowering, because
yes,
Mars can bring like a lot of courage. And we've got, this is in the sign of Gemini, which that Mercury we just talked about, square the nodes. So there could be a piece here about like really just like speaking your piece around things.
I think so, because the last comment is the natal Mars is in Cancer, at the very last degree of Cancer. And Cancer, Mars in Cancer is so dramatically different than Mars in Gemini. Mars in Cancer is more apt to be needing security. And Cancer needs its own processing. It's very valuable. The flower blooms when it blooms. And with all this tremendous ability to be a shifter, a shapeshifter of society, of some kind of group, and having this voice within her, it seems that possibly this Mars is and it's all relative, because I think it's more deliberate. It's just like, it's saying, we're not going to be in the shadows. We're going to come out and say to you this energy. So yes, the courage. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Okay. Go ahead. We need to break.
Okay, one last thing. So just to like play off of that Mars in Cancer, Cancer is the crab. And the crab, when it walks, it doesn't walk straight forward. It goes side to side. And that's kind of the energy of Cancer. Like when it is communicating, it's not always straightforward. And so this Mars transit may be kind of bringing forward more of that direct communication. So I'm curious to see how it's going.
Yeah, because I can see that in her natal chart, the old and the new rulers of Scorpio are at tension. Speaking of old and new. So it's like many, many past lives, possibly. I know that from my own experience, I'm dealing with past lives, like really recalibrating. And when one experiences that, it's not evident at first. It's through time that finally one is aware of patterns and realities. So thank you, Amanda Pierce. Thank you, audience. Kaleidoscope Visions will be right back. This is October 9th, and we will be grateful to have our guests join us. Thank you.
While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the Yang period of Libra, ruled dually by Venus. By leaving the lower hemisphere of the self, the energy of Libra enters the arena where the completed self meets the other than self to form a relationship based on partnership. As a cardinal air sign on the descendant angle, represented by the equinox of equal light, Libra's energy learns through comparison and relationships, with the intention to integrate duality and polarities.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to the Ananda Institute of Living Yoga, we cover the world of animals. This week, October 16th, it's Behavior Training and Healing Sunday with me, and talk with your human or animal loved ones on this side or the other, and personal awareness coaching with Natasha Venter. Hope you can join us and plan to call in with your questions for either one of us, or for a personal awareness reading with Natasha. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Talk Cosmos brings you leading-edge astrological conversations with hour-long programs each week on KKNW. The show goes live every Sunday from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on Facebook and YouTube, along with daily chats throughout the week on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel. While you're there, make sure you click like and subscribe buttons so you can get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or, if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. So, grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
Talk Cosmos is celebrating its 6th season and has a special gift for everyone listening to the show, a free mini transit reading from your natal chart. This reading can help you discover your life path forward and make you aware of current opportunities and challenges. Talk Cosmos Kaleidoscope Visions panel invites you to participate in this learning experience and to interact with the astrologers reading your chart in 2023 during the monthly Kaleidoscope Visions show. Schedule your mini transit reading and find more information about the panel at talkcosmos.com. We look forward to connecting with you for a free natal chart mini transit reading during the monthly Kaleidoscope Visions show at 1 p.m. Pacific on Talk Cosmos.
Conversation you won't find on the rest of the dial. Alternative Talk 1150.
Hey, let's see, which chart shall I go back to? Let's go back to...
Let's go to the eclipse.
Okay. Oops. There we are. Okay, let's bring on our guest. Wonderful.
Hello.
Oh, hi. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you.
Thank you for this participation. And I suppose we just need to invite you to comment either on the changes, like for instance, with networking or with deep personal changes and any other any comment.
Did anything resonate? Are we totally off course with this?
Yeah, definitely. I'll start by I know nearly nothing about astrology. A friend of mine kind of like who does Ori astrology put me onto this. So I was trying my best to take some notes.
Yeah, we probably went a bit fast, right?
That's how it is when I talk to her too. So, but yeah, I mean, a lot has been changing in my life. I mean, I'm in grad school. I'm on my last year studying acupuncture. So what you guys were saying about healing and stuff like that is pretty on point. Oh man, we might have to go through questions.
Okay, yeah. So where do we start, Sue? Did you want to?
Okay, no, excellent. I wanted to confirm. I'm very glad actually to recognize that Mercury, as we call it, the energy of thinking and communicating, but it's in that area of health, and so we'll really try to talk more general than astrologically, which I appreciate, which is always and it has a lot to do about nurturing, as we were saying, but it's being activated. Do you find that you're wanting to make choices are you thinking of your holistic, when I say holistic, I meant your ego, your whole, like here, your direction has been going towards school, but something about relationships, but that you're looking for greater activity?
Sure. I think previous to this previous to the pandemic and then enrolling in this program, I think my life was really guided by like socializing. I worked jobs that allowed me to kind of have freedom in that way. And I was into making music with people. I was a singer, and was kind of maybe too hung up on social groups, in a way that maybe had kept me from building other aspects of my life. And when the pandemic started, I had just started seeing somebody who now I'm engaged to. So,
congrats.
Thank you. So like that, all of those things, going into school, and acupuncture, honestly, acupuncture, Chinese medicine, and astrology, I feel like have a lot in common in how deep they go, how many ways you can explore it. And so although it's like a very clinical, you also said something about a pragmatic mystic. I literally started laughing because that feels very much like what I'm doing right now, very scientific way of looking at the spirit, the body, and the universe at the same time, and treating people in a very pragmatic way on all those levels. So where the hell was I going?
That's okay. It's a diversity.
I love that.
I must say that the energies right now and we will be encountering are diverse. And we say that because Mars, which is the energizer, just to give a little clarity about how, is our activator, and it's in the sign of diversity, of connections is basically it. So and in your chart, and I could anyway.
So can I ask, it looks like you're probably a pretty nurturing type of person. Is that accurate?
I think I can be. Like it comes across in certain ways. I think sometimes I can act very maybe harshly toward people or aggressively, but that's also kind of just because I'm a Philadelphian and that's cultural. But when people need me, I'm really open to listening. It's also why I've been good at connecting with so many people in my life. And in this career, it's definitely becoming even more obvious to me that it's a natural gift of mine.
Yes.
Okay.
I can well imagine. Well, go ahead, Amanda, but I wanted to say that about the harshness, I understand what you're saying, but there is a line between, because I'm looking at the chart and I will say your direction in the first house, which represents our self, there's a great deal of energy. You have a great deal of planets. Any house, any area can have a lot of energy, but yours is motivated, one could say, first by your opinions and your belief structures, patterns, making them, but it's also grounded through wanting form and stability. When I said the pragmatic mystic, that is one of the forces, but it's also wanting, in the Capricorn, it can be first looking at factual substance rather than putting the emotional aside. So that could be what you're interpreting within you, whereas you have a great deal of emotional depth. It could be a matter of being able to feel safe to reveal it. So having a context that you're able to provide to people, of this healing modality, perhaps you'll feel more empowered to reveal that depth of emotion.
I think you are so on point. I don't even know if I would have been able to say that about myself, but that's so true. I think when I'm not able to be nurturing, it's because I don't necessarily feel seen or safe in a relationship, or I don't feel good enough to be in it, or whatever the reason, or I'm overpowered and I don't feel like my opinion would be heard. maybe that's why.
Oh, you just said it. You're afraid that your opinion won't be heard. So this goes back to that Mercury piece that we were talking about, which is communication. It's your voice, and we were mentioning that it's squaring the nodes. So this is a piece to that you'll be working through, like for your whole lifetime. Anything square the nodes. I mean, your whole chart, you're working at your whole lifetime, right? There's no like, you don't like fix it and then I'm done. But the Mercury piece, the Mercury and the Ceres right next to it, is about Ceres is about that, a deep loss, and conjunct Mercury, it can be a deep loss of your voice. And so this is something that you're going to kind of see some things going through in your life. And this eclipse is connecting directly to that Mercury. So it's going to bring a lot of energy to it, and it's good to be aware of that piece and kind of look to ways that you can, in little instances, just in like conversations with friends or your partner, ways that you can kind of voice your needs a little bit more, because you do have two dynamics here in your chart. You do have that gruff exterior, or it can be, where we've got an ascendant, which is like how you present yourself to the world in Sagittarius, which is like a big kind of boisterous energy. And then the sun in Gemini conjunct Jupiter in Gemini, which can be super chatty, but not necessarily very feeling. But then you've got a lot of feeling stuff going on in your chart. Your moon. Yeah, go ahead, Sue.
Now, I have some clues here because this is true. I'm glad to see the dichotomy, and it's true in a social environment. It's so easy to connect. Gemini, I'm a Gemini. We need to connect. It's just part of life. But it's how and choosing. It's almost like choosing your battles. We can compartmentalize, not with the idea of separation, but focus. Focus is very important. Your moon is very focused. It's a Scorpio moon. It's conjunct Pluto. It wants depth. And to get to the broad arena of life, or even on a casual basis, is difficult. It's going to require you, like, first you have this vocation of acupuncture, but you also could, in order to have that safety gauge, you could choose, like, with Sagittarius, it's publishing a blog, for instance, have that, using that, it's a careful process, but using that meditation, that deep, discovering ways to go within and find ways that you could reveal or share with other people, so to help them empower themselves too, is a part of this process. So in other words, whether it's writing or whether it's a class, but finding something very, go ahead.
And sometimes, like when you're a practitioner and you're one-on-one with a client, even if it's acupuncture, you can have those conversations and you can go to deep places. So that may be an avenue for you if that feels right to you. Also, the Scorpio, a lot of emotional depth, but it loves also to research. So doing deep research that can then help others in your field. So
yeah, that all checks out for me.
Yeah, different ideas here.
Researching is good. It's because that Mercury is in the 6th house, and so it wants to find, and it's on a daily basis. But I really think, rather than, because sometimes I feel like if I didn't have Talk Cosmos, it would be like Russian roulette. I'd just be searching for people that would be fascinated to discuss what I feel so deeply about, and learning from them what they know. But that begins to become a very superficial, because it's Russian roulette. You don't know where you're connecting. Whereas if you take the authority, that Saturn of forming your focus into what you want to convey. I mean, along with, like Amanda's saying, this great avenue of using the service of connecting with people more freely as you get clientele, but expanding on how you can maybe service that clientele, and perhaps networking with other schools or other acupuncturists. I know that in Seattle, there are a few schools there, and there's also nationwide acupuncturists, and there's many types of acupuncture. There's Chinese and there's Japanese, and I've had quite a bit myself. And there's so much for people. There's many avenues. I think as you explore deeper, you'll find that your voice will be recognized and heard. It's just you choosing the avenue. Oh, hi, there you are.
Hello.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
I felt bad staying off camera. I just had to situate myself.
Oh, that's okay. Usually we don't always have people on live, but thank you. So,
and just going back to like what we were saying before we even started looking at your chart, just about this eclipse in general, is kind of look to areas where there's dead weight that it's just not working anymore, and so that it can be released. And in doing that, you'll be able to bring in more of the good stuff that you want. And in doing that, it may be that you'll need to speak something because it's directly connecting to your Mercury. And so you'll see how it goes. It'll be like a 3 to 6 month process. It's worth kind of evaluating where your relationships are or where your values are and what's kind of just ready to be released.
It's interesting. I feel like there's been a lot of that's been happening. What I've been caught on recently is a lot of, I don't want to say dead weight, but there's just been a lot of change in how who I'm choosing to be around and like what I have time for. But I do notice that there's a lot of patterns that really only have to do with me, like in terms of some health stuff, in terms of just like my time. Like I'm fully addicted to television. I want to be doing other things, and I have a really hard time like moving forward from that stuff.
We have 3 minutes. When you bring that up about the television, I'm thinking Pisces. The Pisces is partly television. It's partly, and it's Aquarius too. It's connecting. Maybe if you find some online communities that share your interest, you can shift that a little bit, and then you can learn how to kind of like a muscle test your voice.
Well, and sometimes it's like we need to clear out old energy that doesn't even seem to be connected to where we're stuck. Because so again, we've got the Uranus in Taurus, which Uranus wants to break free, and Taurus is where we're kind of stuck and comfortable. And that's TV. It's almost like it feels like going back to the womb. Right? There's just like that comfort.
And it's familiarity. I know that for myself, there's certain things. It's like they're people. And I was watching Outlander, and it's like, well, where are they? They haven't come up with the 7th series yet, And I'm not going to read the book.
So this is like part of that. It's just like do what you can to shift what is ready to be shifted and released.
Yeah, open up.
It's like layers.
True. Replace things on a slow basis. It's not like, okay, I'm aborting this, but taking some kind of practice too, like you're doing the acupuncture, but if you can find a spiritual practice, whether it's meditating, whether it's writing pages, I know that's one, like writing 3 pages. The Artist's Way is
like in the morning. Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, or anytime.
I would also recommend kind of Googling your Chiron in Cancer. Because you've got Chiron in Cancer, you've got Venus in Cancer, you've got Mars in Cancer. And Chiron in Cancer is that there is a mother connection there, and there's like this deep wounding around not having the womb anymore. So it's something that might spark something for you.
Yeah, to rejoice
so many more questions there, but
well, blessings to you, and thank you for coming on so much. And if you have anybody else, it's really simple. Just go online. But we really wish you all the very, very best. And
thank you.
Congratulations going to school and your impending marriage. Yay!
Yes. Yay. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, okay. Well, Amanda, this was once again delightful. And it seems like I must part.
Yes, I know that it always goes by so quickly. And I only feel like we were able to talk about a fraction of what we want to.
Well, we did cover, I think, some substantial. There's many good takeaways. And I think for all of us, it's that nurturing our metamorphosis of looking at ourselves. I know that pretty moment. Yep, there we go. See you.
Thank you for joining us on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests connect soul growth patterns with the energetic cycles of astrology. Be sure to tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.